6:35. I do want to mention that I'm deeply appreciative of all the people here because you are not being paid. And
What?
I'm out of here.
I'm very,
What we were told.
oh, I didn't recognize Mike. I'm very happy to see a
short
full table. So we are, I believe I have to read this. I've listened to Peter do this several times. This meeting will be held in person in the notice meeting room in conformance to New Hampshire RSA 91A. A quorum of the board's members must be physically present in the meeting room for the meeting to start and or continue, which we have. The public can choose to attend and participate in person or by Zoom. If something occurs that disables access to Zoom, the meeting will continue regardless, and members of the public or board members using Zoom will have no recourse. Choosing to use Zoom is done at the individual's risk. Using Zoom requires the use of an enabled device. To participate on Zoom, use the following link: https://us02web.zoom.us/j/878219863110. Webinar ID 878-2198-6310. To listen only, call 1-646-558-8656 or 1-301-715-8592. Using this option only allows you to listen to the meeting with no opportunity to participate. To view this meeting, YouTube under the City of Laconia. If any board member is
Oh, you don't have to read that part.
perfect, we don't have, oh, but we do have one.
Oh, yes, we do. Sorry. You do have to read that one.
Thank you. Hi. If any board member is using Zoom, they must identify their location and who else is in the room with them. If at least one board member is on Zoom, all votes taken will be by roll call vote. The meeting will continue even if your Zoom connection is lost. That is the call to order. Karen, could you do a roll call, please?
Robert Hamel,
Here.
Rich Chaney,
Here.
Charlie St. Clair,
Here.
Gail Ober,
Here.
Dana Roach,
Here.
Mark Haynes,
Here.
Mike Foot,
Here.
Paul Dugan,
Here.
Matt,
Here. Here.
Paul Fusen.
On Zoom.
Okay, can you hear us okay? Paul?
I can hear you.
Perfect, okay.
Hit the like button.
And do you have anybody with you?
Nope.
I'm sorry. Acceptance of minutes from the previous meeting. Did everybody get to look them over, and are there any comments or questions? Going to take that as no, and they will be accepted as presented. And with, in regard to the presentations, I think if you have any questions to the presenter, if you could just jot your question down rather than interrupting the presenter. I would like them to be able to get what they have to say out, and then questions will be after they present. Okay. And I believe we have water.
Good thing.
Good evening, everybody. Not a fair amount of you, but I'm Ben Crawford, the superintendent at the water department here in Laconia. We've got one on there, so where am I looking to see him? Am I looking at the camera up there? Is that as far as on there?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
So do you all have the handout of our CIP items for water? I'm just gonna kind of a brief overview, then I'll go through them line by line, and then as you mentioned, we can all do questions at the end. So water department, again, as some of you may know, we work out of our water billing revenue. We're not out of the tax dollars, anything that we bring in is what we end up putting back into our system, either on our O&M budget that we go through and also our CIP capital budget that also comes from our revenues there. And we do everything from treating the water, pulling it out of Paugus Bay. We have 6 different tanks around town, 7 booster stations, and over 100 miles of pipe, 600 hydrants. So we have, anything you see around Laconia and the outskirts and Guilford and Belmont is what we take care of. All this is based upon. So I'm just going to go right through. We have the way we order them. The first page or first section of them is all the projects that we have. So which are basically water main relays. There was a replace a water main in a street. And we do these based on a couple factors, one being the age of the pipe in the street, have we had any issues? And also we work with Public Works very closely as to what roads they're doing so we can coordinate. So we're not either getting into roads after they've already done them or getting into them before they're paving them. So I'll go right through these. Any of them that stand out, I'll kind of point out the differences. The first one, Wentworth Avenue. That's just more of a, we need to upsize it. It's a smaller main. It's older, back in the 40s. And again, most of these we would do on our own. These are Laconia Waterworks employees would actually be doing the relay. I'll point out the ones that we would end up subbing out if they're outside of our scope of work. Second one down Summer Street. That's another, it's an older line, and that's also in conjunction with Public Works plan. They're looking to get into Summer Street and pave that in the next couple of years. We want to get the water replaced as well. Morningside Drive is an older, it's actually an iron service line, so we'd like to get that out of there and replace it with a newer ductile iron line, not the old smaller iron. Peachy Street is one over here by the middle school, and that's more of a, again, upsizing, just creating more flow to that area of town, especially with hydrants by the school. New Salem Street is in conjunction with Public Works. So that's just the intersection at Cross Street is what we'd be looking at doing when they do the whole road. With some older pipe in there. Pine Street is another one that, again, is with Public Works, as they would do the road. We would have the water main replaced under the road. That is one that we would end up subbing out. That's a larger pipe, it's a 12-inch pipe. And that section of Pine Street's very steep too. So that would end up going to a subcontractor. The next couple, so Woodland, Orchard, and Veterans are all same idea of just older pipe that we may have had a couple issues on, or low flow restrictions down there that we'd like to get those out of there and upsize to the next pipe. Those are all ones that we would do in-house. Pine Street Extension is similar to that, but also it's a longer one. We'd like to do most of that street. It was shimmed a few years back, so that pavement will end up being needing to be done as far as a full road reconstruction, I would assume, in the 5 years or so that we're looking at it. And then Crescent Street as well. That's one that's popped up on Public Works paving schedule coming down the road, and that's kind of in our ballpark of the timelines that we would replace the pipe in. So as I go forward onto number 12, Water Department 12, this is when we get into our purchases as opposed to projects. First couple are ones that we have that go right along every year. We hold them in there each year. The pump replacement and upgrades is just for that. If we have any pumps that go down around town, we have 50 to 60 pumps that could be going at any one time, depending on the different booster stations. So they're all in there to be fixed at some point. And again, it's kind of we stay as proactive as we can, but that also gives us some money that if something goes down, we can get out there and fix it. Distribution system upgrades is not the water mains themselves, but if we have hydrants or gates or anything in the street, the valves in the street that need repair, that allows us to have a little flexibility in where we do those. So the next two are meter reading and then the meter upgrade program. They're actually two separate items because the meter reading is for the MXUs, which is actually the device that we use to read the meters. So that goes out to replace those. The next line for the meter upgrade, that's actually to get new meters in the system. So kind of a two-part, so we break it out into two sections. Scada Upgrade. Scada is the system that we use to control all of our pumps, booster stations, everything around town. So that's what we can look at from the treatment plant, see where everything's going. Again, we're trying to be as proactive as we can with this to keep ahead of the system that's now aging out. It's about 15 years old. So we're trying to replace some of the parts that are starting to not necessarily fail, but will be phased out in the next few years. We want to stay ahead of that. You'll see the sign for the treatment plant is on there. We actually had in this budget that we're working in now, the sign for our office building at Union Avenue, that's actually down, and we're putting up a granite sign there. So we're looking to do the same up at the treatment plant next couple of years to replace the old faded signs and get some newer granite ones that hopefully last a long time there. We've got service van unit 16 is, it's about, our rule of thumb is if a vehicle gets to be either 10 years old or has 100,000 miles on it, we like to trade it in and get a new one. So that's actually it's just over 10 years old now, and that would be a treatment plant vehicle. Overhead door at the plant is just a big garage door. Again, it's aging out, and we've had some safety concerns of if it ever were to let go. So we want to get that one done before that happens. Weirs Station building, that is if you go up Weirs Boulevard on the left where the old Chamber of Commerce information booth used to be. We have a pump station right there. The roof is now about 28 years old. So we're looking to take the roof off and replace all the, got some water damage underneath it. So that's coming up the next couple of years there. We kind of put a Band-Aid on it for this year to get us through. Big one, next one down is Union Avenue building repair. So that's, if you're familiar with our office on Union Avenue, we have the old brick building right there in front is where the office is housed. And we have a couple other brick garages around the property, as well as a couple of houses and kind of a storage building. That's in there for 100,000. And I based that number off of, we had Bonnet Page and Stone come out a couple of years back and look at all the brickwork that we would potentially have to have done, repointing the bricks, filling in the cracks, and then washing everything. Their estimate came out to was 123,000. So this isn't to do all of it by any means, but it's to get in there and start cleaning up at least the spots that are failing before they get to a point where, you know, God forbid we have to look at taking a building down, because those are nice old brick buildings that we'd like to maintain and keep them there for as long as we can. Clarifier Rehab, that's specific up to the plant. That's actually, Clarifier is a part of one of the treatment trains where the water comes in. So it's just rehabbing the filter trains there and keeping those up to date. Right, so I'm now on to number 23, which is the Long Bay tank. That's over in Southdown, Long Bay area. Currently, that's just a standpipe tank. The water goes in and comes back out when it's needed to be used. So we're looking at installing a mixer in there to just circulate the water in the tank to improve the water quality there. We did one at the Briarcrest tank 2 years ago, and that's been seen good results with that. So the water is the same going in as coming out. It's not sitting there and getting stagnant over the time where it sits. Ride-on mower, we do all of our own landscaping, maintenance, and everything for all of our facilities, including the pump station. So that's we have our mowers aging out and looking to get a new one next couple of years to keep up with that. Excavator, that one we broke out over 3 years. So again, when we do all of our own water main work and relays and things like that, we do a lot of the digging on our own. So we have it's a 2007 excavator now. So by the time we're looking to get that, we'd be closing in on 20 years, which is roughly what we're looking at on equipment time to replace it. We broke that out over 3 years because it's a costly purchase of 300,000. So engineering study is one that we've been kind of pushing out there for a couple of years. It's just to have somebody come in and look at our system and kind of basically make a map of where our pressure zones are and where we could serve with what we have currently and what we would need to do to, if we ever were to expand, where would we need to go and what elevations would we need to get to. The next two, we've got a couple dump trucks. One is a smaller, it's just a 1-ton dump truck with a plow on it. And then the larger one, dump truck number 15, is our, you know, you would see it out on the roads when we're doing these projects where we're loading all the dirt and material into. And again, those are both aging out. One's 11 years old now and the other one's 14. So those are coming up on time. We don't usually get to the mileage. It's more the age of the vehicles. And then last is the old Weirs tank. So again, you can actually see it now pretty easily with Cedar Lodge has cleaned out a lot of their area up there. We actually have 2 tanks up in the Weirs. One has been decommissioned for about 10 years now, just looking to get that knocked down and cleaned up now that, especially where it's I don't want to say an eyesore, but you can certainly see it and it's not in use. We'd like to get that one wrapped up and out of there. And that's what we have for the next 5 years going forward. I know it's a lot to throw out there, and I can't promise you that these will all happen in that order over the next 5 years, but that's our best guess at it. And so we try to keep up with the streets of the paving program too. And again, that's always changing, but we work well with Public Works, thankfully, and can make those changes usually on the fly and move the funding around if we have to go to a different street. So with that, I'll ask if there's any questions.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to speak about the Weirs a bit, and on Endicott Street North there.
Yep.
All right, so from the water tanks forward all the way north to Beaver Pond Estates.
Yep.
If one were to develop in there, one would not only have to pay the service for hooking up through water,
Yep.
one would also have to pay a residual now to the people who have taken over Beaver Pond Estates, Brady Sullivan.
Correct.
Okay, so in that, I feel that it inhibits in some way the growth in the weirs. And I want to know, because that's an exorbitant amount from my understanding.
Yep.
Right, which would make it crushing to develop and more reasonable to make a well. Even though that nice line is right in there with fire and everything like that, all the safety. Are there other places that we have in Laconia that, and this is under residuals for the next 7 years till 2028. We can't expect to outgrow this. Are there any other places in Laconia where we have extensive lines that are have inhibitive connection cost?
There are a few, and I can certainly get you some more examples. I'll name a couple off the top of my head, but we have that line out there that runs all the way, like you said, from the tanks all the way out to goes out
Roller
to
coaster.
Roller coaster, takes the left, goes down roller coaster. So that one has, I wanted to say it was closer to 25 or 26 that it was coming past its 20 years, but it may be as late as 27 or 28. What we do is when we get into a water main extension contract where somebody else foots the bill, we generally have a 20-year contract, and so they have we call it a developer's recapture of investment, because they're actually footing the whole bill. The water department is not. As far as other ones in town, we just went actually the other way on Endicott Street, down towards the Guilford line on Endicott Street East, but that was through the city. So there's no payback on that one. That's going to be, if anyone wants to tie on, they would have to just pay their normal fee of tying in. Hilliard Road, we did have one. That one I think is set to expire actually maybe as early as next year, but we just had a gentleman down there tied on, and it was actually the same developer on
Correct.
that line to go to those apartments. And they were actually able to come to an agreement. They didn't turn any money over. So there are some opportunities where people can, I don't want to say bargain with the developer, but approach them and say, this is what I'm looking to do. Where can we settle? So it's not on the full amount of it. As far as this area downtown, I mean, downtown Lakeport, those are all older lines that have been in place. And even if we have somebody else replace a line for us, we don't necessarily have that recapture if it's a replacement. It's only an extension. So if you look at kind of the outskirts of the city, that's where you may see those. But those are the only ones that come to mind. Is the ones actually, they're all up in the Weirs. And just to add to that point too, there is also a tank payback on that one, because when the lighthouse tank went up in Aqua Marine or Aqua Vista, whatever it was at the time, the water department put a fair amount of money in for that tank to go up, and we have a tank payback on that to recapture the investment on that. So in that area, it's twofold. People are looking at high prices to tie on because of.
So that would be 3 fees. The water tank at Aqua.
Yep.
Brady Sullivan down to Beaver Pond Estates.
Yep.
And the normal hookup.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah. So 2 additional. Yeah.
And you'll provide us with a list of any others?
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll go through contracts and see what's
Would
within the
you?
last 20 years,
Yep, thanks.
what's still out there.
I have a couple of questions. I noticed that your type of project and project need is the same for all the items, all 30 items. How did you determine the priority of these projects, or is that still flexible in your mind?
Now they do change. So the first 11 I have, type of project need. I'm looking at the project description. Well, type of project, we always do a new project because it's all gonna be new to us, whether it's new pipe or new purchase of a vehicle or anything. And project need is always needed. So I guess to get to the point of where did we factor in what needs to happen, what year? The streets, we base that off of, first off, the paving schedule. If we know what they're gonna do, we look at when do we need to fall into place with them. Some others we'll put in there just due to, we have a list of mains to be relayed, and we'll fill them in based on budget, what we have available in this, and also the age of them. We have, that list is in order. So we try to pull from the top there, and as we get to the ones that fit in. And that's, again, that's based off of the age of the pipe and if we've had any outstanding issues. As you get to the purchases, we've always just kind of put the, those top 4 or 5 that keep going year to year. Those have always stayed right there because we know they're just gonna keep rolling. But after that, when we get into the things like the building rehabs and the vehicles and all things like that, that varies year to year, but our vehicles are very much, we go by the 10-year rule of if they are 10 years old, or if we, again, have hit 100,000 miles, which is rare for us because, we're in town. We just go off that on the vehicles, and then the buildings, things like that, as they come up, we put them in there as quick as we can manage them on our schedule.
And I did note that the last column is basically paying it out of current revenues, right?
Yep.
All these. So my second question, if I may, Madam Chair, has to do with WT 27. So it'd be a good time to have this discussion, maybe. The Master Plan Steering Committee and the Planning Board have been talking a lot about infrastructure. Many of our conversations end up on Hilliard Road. And as my friend Council Cheney has pointed out, if we get a line somewhere up on the heights in Parade Road, we could bring water to a whole hell of a lot of that area, that rural residential, and encourage some developers to maybe go out and look that way. The other thing that we've talked about is opening a corridor along Hilliard Road for a recreational trail as well. So that when the Wild Trail makes it to the Weirs, not if, when, there'll be a way to connect over to Parade Road and other uses like that. And maybe that way, the improvement of Hilliard Road to actually an accepted street could be done incrementally. So what I'm getting at is that maybe I'd love to invite you to, or one of your people to join us on the Master Plan Steering Committee. And perhaps give us access to your consultant so that we can talk about how feasible that is. It's probably a huge capital outlay. But it's been brought to my attention that there's more than one way to get that thing done. There's always a bond, of course, but we have a tax cap and we can only bond so much, if I'm not mistaken, right, Bruce?
Right.
Okay, so, but again, infrastructure is really my focus this year. And not just water, but if you think about it, water leads to all kinds of other infrastructure needs. And you and Public Works do a really great job coordinating. And that working relationship would really help if we decide, the city did decide to improve that corridor.
Mhm.
We could even maybe have underground utilities and all that, so that's all I had. Number 27. Are you pretty sure that you're gonna do that? Say when? Do you know what the time frame
It's
is?
been in the works for a number of years. It was actually DuBois and King started the project, so they have that. It was actually with Paul Fluitt when he was there. I don't know if any of you have ever worked with him, but he's kind of started to phase his way out. So we're working with somebody that came in with him. So it's kind of sat dormant for a few years, but
Okay,
it's there that we can take it to the next step. So even if it's, again, where it's on here, it's out 3 years, we may be able to pull that up a little and kind of revamp what we've already done and see where we're at now.
there's nothing wrong with a new, fresh set of eyes taking a look
True.
at your distribution system. And I understand the intricacies of it and how difficult it is in some areas. And many of the old cluster developments and things like that, they have their own water issues. But, obviously, water generates revenue, and it seems to me it gives your department an edge when it comes to, pushing the envelope a little bit, because it's not going to affect the tax rate.
Right.
But thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Done.
Yeah, just 2 quick questions. On number 21, Union Avenue building repairs.
Yes.
With $100,000 into a very old building, does it make any sense at all to invest in a smart building for your operations and take that money and put it towards a new structure someplace?
I've looked at that. I mean, just personally looking at it is, that main building, that's kind of the face of our water department. It's got
Well,
the big granite etched in stone Laconia Water Company. But I've looked at the outbuildings, the 2 brick buildings that may not be as, postcard, that you would send out. It's just an old brick garage that is coming down. So that was one that I kind of looked at. Maybe we try to put a little money into that, just keep it standing until we can find a better way to do it. That main building is what I want to focus a lot of that funding on. I mean, we've got old doors in there that, every day we're hoping it's going to unlock again with the old antique key in there. I mean, it's great. I love the things because they have a certain sentimental value to them, but the older outbuildings are the ones that would be probably.
Okay,
Up
so,
for that.
so I get the sense then you guys are married to keeping that old brick building and not an investment into a smart building that may be more, better use of our money over the long term and down, or your money, should I say, over the long term and down the road. Okay. And my next question is just, it's one that's a little bit ways out, and that's, but I'm going to ask it now, is the demo of the old Weirs Tank. Is that a public hazard? Is it secure? I mean, is that an attractive nuisance?
The site is locked all the time unless
Okay.
we're on site. There's a locked gate there, and even with Cedar Lodge's rehab they've done, we had them reinstall the fence, so we're all.
Okay, so it's just there. It's not in any danger of hurt. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Counselor?
Getting to your question about a smart building, I think the director should tell you that they're building up on the hill. I think you should go see it. The things I think you're looking for are there.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking primarily about a historic building and maintaining that. I tend to support that idea, but you should take a day and run up and see it. It's,
Oh, okay, okay, no, I will. I'm just trying to, I know that I understand the nature of historic buildings and I really do. At the same time, I know that they can be real albatrosses over time, and that sometimes it just makes sense to cut your losses and move on. And that's why I asked the question. If that's not the will of what we've got, then that's okay. That's the only reason why I brought it up.
but no, and I appreciate that, but the emphasis I'd like to make to you is you really ought to take a moment and go look. I did, and I was frankly very pleasantly surprised at what the water department has done. I look out and they have these huge tanks of purified, well, I guess purified's a adequate term, 1 or 2 tanks there.
There's 2 tanks up on
2.
the hill there. Yep.
And they potentially can provide twice as much as they already are, if I understood.
Yes, yep.
So
yeah.
we can do twice as much water as we're producing right now. And I thought, well, that's great. They planned ahead. But then they left another bay, which right now they use for vehicles and whatever. But their plan is to add a 3rd tank when the time becomes
No, you
necessary.
had mentioned that.
So I think they've done a lot to look ahead. And I really, at the risk of beating a dead horse, I'd love to have you and any other members go take a look because it's worth seeing. It really is. I was impressed. I'd like to go back to what my friend mentioned a while ago about water up in the northwest quadrant of the city. Sort of related to that, have you ever approached Brady Sullivan about buying them out, so to speak?
On the line that they
Yeah.
have there, I have not. No.
Could I ask, would you see if you could look into what they might, it doesn't commit this committee or you
Yeah.
to ask and find out, but to piggyback on what he was saying, it might be helpful if we could get rid of that extra cost and move forward with growth in that area. I'm hoping I know you've put together some figures, or your predecessor perhaps put together some figures for getting water to the top of Hilliard Road and tanking it up. I hope you'll take the time to upgrade those numbers and let us know, because the only part of this city left to grow is that northwest quadrant, and there's no water up there.
Right.
And One of the other parts of the problem is there's one development that has a community well, and that's not doing well, no pun intended.
It's a deep subject, Bruce.
I'm sorry?
It's a deep subject.
Yes, it is. And they have problems of, they have covenants that make drilling your own well difficult at best, prohibited perhaps. So us getting, or at least looking at what it will cost us to get water and getting some of that in here.
Yep.
The piping, I don't think anybody here thinks we can do this in a year. Maybe we can't do it in 5 or 10, but we ought to at least start that process. It may be down the list, but if you would give us some idea of, for development purposes, and it may not only be the north part of the city. When you start talking about enlarging pipes, essentially you're doing the same thing in other areas. So this is an enlargement, it's just of an area rather than of a pipe. So maybe you could look at that again and think about putting that on the list in another year, if we don't force you to do it sooner. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I did.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
So just to tag on to that too, there is one thing. Don't forget what happened to the town of Lincoln back in the 80s. They were way behind the curve in the housing demand. So by the time they got all the new housing built, the demand had dropped. And you could, wasn't for timeshares, none of those units had gone anywhere. So, we have extremely high, unusually high demand right now. And this year, we're going to start getting access to the census numbers and the data that goes with that. We could take a way more technical and scientific approach to weighing development needs based upon mechanical considerations, electrical considerations, water pressures, things like that. I've read a little bit about it, and there's a lot of different new and innovative ways of dealing with transporting water, and distributing it with minimal upkeep. So.
And there may be federal funds available as a result of
that's-
this infrastructure.
And that's the other
That's
thing.
why
Yeah.
I think we hope you'll, I hope, and I suspect some others hope, you'll look at it and see if we can't start putting together a program that'll allow us to move forward up there.
You don't have any old wooden mains left, do you?
No old wooden mains, no.
I remember they tore up down on
They lasted the Romans quite a while.
on Main Street near the library once. They pulled out like a 50-foot section.
They're still alive.
Barrel
They're still
stave
there.
water main. It was still in service. They were surprised.
We have one piece of it sitting at the treatment plant just as a, display. It's 10
Right.
feet, 10 feet or so of water main. Quite a
Amazing.
sight from what they used to do to what they do now.
Yeah, well, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who could hoop that barrel for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Peter and Bruce just jogged my memory about a conversation that we had at the Master Plan Steering Committee. And that was not relative necessarily to expansion, but infill, which is the process of making better use of what we've already got in the city. And one of the things that we did talk about was an inventory of water and sewer so that we could get a jump on, if we know what we have in terms of what we could support in our existing infrastructure, it would give us a better idea of where we could seek out to put small building projects. I'm saying 1, 2, maybe 3 apartment buildings in certain areas that are in the city. And I noticed that this is pretty, I keep moving my glasses back and forth. I'm sorry, I'm just old and blind. I noticed the inventory is pretty far out. Is there any will to move that up a little bit so that as we go forward, we actually do know what we have?
You're talking that engineering study where we're talking, kind of looking at the whole system.
27.
Yeah, that, I think I've forgotten the number. I apologize.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's something that certainly could be shifted. Something else would have to shift around a year or two, but that's one thing that we could potentially bump up a year to have that in process sooner. to then know what we have out there.
Yeah, knowing what we have inside the city as excluding any expansion certainly helps us as developers and as people seeking, you know, assistance through public or private or partnerships, just to let them know what we have. So they have an idea. If we can't tell them, then, you know, and I'm guessing you're fairly current. I mean, I know you know what we have here, but there may be some surprises out there.
Yeah, and like you said, in the area that we have, we know what's there. We've updated as we go, but it's certainly as you get farther away from the center of the city, you know, that's where the lines go. Where can you actually, it's almost an elevation line of where could you cover what we have now? What would you need to do to bring that line up 100 feet, 200 feet up, you know, and that covers that north side of the city, because that's, I think, one of the highest points up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
When I go and look at some of the information that's on our City of Laconia website, you know, I can find the streets, I can find, you know, where the sewer is and stuff like that. I can find telephone poles, you know, on the print. It's harder to find water.
Yep.
Because there's nothing I can go to water and say, what's it look like? Where are we really at? So to Gale's point there, something like that, being more open would be interesting to look at.
We do have the same GIS system that the sewer is mapped out on. We have the same thing. We just have chosen not to bring it public.
Right.
Because of, you know, then you have, everyone knows where your tanks, your stations and your hydrants, things like that are. So we do have that. It's just not public. So when you go on to
Can
this,
you get it? Do I have to call up for a special request?
yeah, basically anybody that does, even engineers that call looking for it, Paul down at DPW, he's the GIS guy. He'll call me and say, can I share this with so-and-so? So that's how
All right.
that's how we've handled it. So yeah, if you call him.
Because of
he can-
poison.
Okay. Sorry, wasn't thinking.
Sorry. Just to wrap this up, and when I was looking at your graph, I was pleasantly surprised to see no use, because I do go right for the urgents first. So I'm glad to see you didn't use that liberally, but is there anything that is more urgent than
Not
others?
so much that
or-
we have to have it done. I mean, these streets again, those are the ones that we always look at that need to happen, but at the same time, been there since 1947. We look at it as, okay, so what's 2021 versus 2023? So it's kind of it can shift a couple of years. We thankfully haven't had any of that, you know, there need to be fixed. And if it ever gets to an urgent point, it doesn't make it to these. It usually gets fixed within the next construction.
Got
season.
you. Okay. The other thing that I was a little dismayed to see was the ride-on mower. And I wasn't sure if, because I hate to think of you guys out there mowing, could it be cheaper to just get a landscaping? To
Potentially,
hire?
we've never looked at contracting out, so I wouldn't know what those numbers are. I mean, we have a fair amount of yards to mow between our different stations. And if you've ever been up to the treatment plant, I mean, that
is
alone is a
expensive.
day to
Not
mow up
one.
there. It's fields up there.
Check with Amy. I know she wants me to bring that up.
Thank you.
They got more than they can handle right now.
I know.
And my last point was, I know you use 2 tanks during the summer, and I wasn't sure if it made sense to drop down to 1 tank in the winter to save on use on the other tank, or is that really difficult to?
It's tough because then you have to worry about sanitizing the other one,
Okay.
bring it back online. So even during the winter, we still pull them down. We just run shorter cycles, so we don't pump as much water into them each day. So you're still pulling the levels up and down. Whereas the summer, we pump 12 hours a day some days just to keep the levels. up.
Right.
Yeah, we do run them both, and every other tank is online all year for that reason. And we actually just had a second service main to the city installed this year. So we now have 2 lines that feed the city as opposed to, we'd had 1 for 60 something years. Same thing. We left both
Interesting.
of those
Okay.
online. So if one breaks, you can turn the other one off, but you don't want to have one offline and then have to use it, but you can't use the water in it.
Got you. Okay. Did anybody else have any questions?
No.
Paul, are you all set? All set. Okay. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you, guys. And I'll get back to you with those contracts that we have that are within the 20 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You're up.
Huge PowerPoint presentation, more to keep me online than it is anything else. Good evening. I know all you know me, but in case anybody happens to be watching, Kirk Beatty, Fire Chief. Thank you for having us here tonight. Seems like we were just here doing this, but it's amazing how fast time flies. But here we are again. Start off with a couple of updates. First, I want to start off with, it's from 2 cycles ago now. It's the Weirs Beach Fire Station renovation that we did, that was supported. It came out absolutely beautiful. I'm still trying to get one piece done. There was an unfortunate event with one of our contractors, so he wasn't able to get the work done. He wasn't able to get the work done through his company because of an unfortunate event with him. So we had to go back out and rebid that, which we did. They came in, they've got a little piece to finish up, but everything else is done, and it came out stunning. For those of you who don't know, the living quarters was all renovated. We took one large bathroom, shower room, and turned it into 2, so we have male and female facilities. We upgraded, took all the window air conditioners out and added mini split air conditioners. We changed out all the windows and paint. Like I said, it came out beautiful. The personnel that work up there absolutely love it. So very pleased. During that whole time, our crews, without capital money, out of our operating budget, were able to take, for those of you who know, the Weirs Fire Station downstairs is the old, still being used, but it's the police station, has their used to, they have a little office and desk in there that they rarely ever used, if at all, except for Motorcycle Week. One of our crews renovated that whole area as well, and they have a shared, so they can use it anytime they want to come up, but we use it as our primary office up there too. So came out really nice, really excited. You'll see in the presentation, I do talk about doing some more work up there, but wanted to thank you for that, because that really did come out nice. Updated from what was approved from last year, our self-contained breathing apparatus, so our air packs that we were on our backs, those were supported and paid for or funded. We have we've narrowed it down to two manufacturers. We have a committee that was put into place. I thought it was going to be a slam dunk. We knew exactly what one we were going to get and move on. And when the committee started working and we started getting input from the rest of the department on what they liked, what fit better, we had demos come in. We both manufacturers left us demos to use and to train on. And now we're kind of in a stuck mode. They can't quite decide which one that everybody likes better, which is a good problem to have.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, that is a good thing. So my hope is that we'll have that finalized. And we're working with John Gardner now to some, lack of a better term, informal quotes right now, so we can kind of look at the pricing too, but to compare between the two, and then we'll get the RFP out, or bids out. My plan is probably end of this month to get that out, 2-3 month lead time. So by the first of the year, we should have them in, be training on them and getting them into service. We ordered the utility pickup truck. That was the other capital item that was funded through last year. It was ordered a week ago, or a couple weeks ago now, and it has a 30-week wait time. So just like everybody else, I mean, I know I'm not the only one to say that, everybody who's ordering, even for their personal use or commercial, doesn't matter, there's a long wait. So that has been ordered. Now we wait. It'll be like Christmas, and I don't know, I didn't do the math out. When is it going to be? April, May? It'll be Christmas for us. We'll go through a couple of modified requests. I kind of broke it down that way this year into modifieds and some new stuff. First one is the replacement of ladder 2 in the Weirs ladder truck. It's a 1998 that we're currently running. It runs as the primary ladder truck in the Weirs and runs as the secondary ladder truck for any fires in Lakeport or downtown. it also operates as the backup ladder truck if our primary ladder truck was out of service for any reason. Example was today, the city garage had to have it for the day just to do routine maintenance, but it had to be out of service for the entire day. So we brought that ladder truck down, put the crew down here on it, and they ran that as for the day. One of the biggest keys that I want to stress on the need for this is if our ladder truck was out of service, today is a great example, and we don't have a secondary one. We really don't have one near us that can come quickly to help us. Meredith does have one. They have a very nice ladder truck. They're not a 24-hour staff station. They are available. If they're available, it's available, but it does take time. Our next closest one is Tilton. And we all know what Route 3 is like, they're not quick. So not only is it important, I believe, for us to have one in the Weirs, which is where this one would be staged and run out of, but I think it's also important to understand that we won't have a ladder truck responding to fires if we only have one available for us to use, and that primary one's out of service. All right. You want to do questions at the end for anyone? Because
Unless you.
No, I don't have any questions. It's up to you. It's whatever, however you want to do it.
I just thought it would be
Okay. No, I can
nicer
keep
if
moving
you
through.
could breeze right
Yep.
through.
No, I can keep going through. Another modified is replacement of the forestry truck. This is a pickup truck that was used when we got it. We use it as forestry, so it's not shown in this picture, but there is a large water and hose unit that was supported by this committee probably 4 years ago now. That goes in this. We just need to upgrade the truck now. It needs to go one size bigger, I think, in the vehicle size itself. It's run for any brush fires we have, any outside fires we have. We use it for special events, Motorcycle Week, Pumpkin Fest, that type, because it can go to smaller areas that we can't maybe get an apparatus in, a fire engine into. But we also use this. It's stationed out of the central station. When the Weirs goes out to an incident, a medical incident, where they're going to need extra help, instead of sending a larger piece of fire apparatus, an engine or a ladder up there to help them, we send this. Two of the people get off the ladder truck, they jump on this and they go. It's wear and tear on the bigger vehicles. So this vehicle does get run quite a bit. It also goes out and handles all of our inspections. Is for the personnel on the floor do about 1,000 to 1,200 inspections a year, mechanical inspections, furnaces, heating systems, fireplaces, that type of stuff. Again, instead of bringing out larger apparatus to go do this, they bring this. If they need to come back and get one of the larger piece of apparatus, they actually respond back to the station and do that, or they can take this to the call if it was appropriate. Another modified that I had on for last year was replacement of the deputy chief's VMS car. This is a 2008. I believe we actually get this secondhand as well. It's done very well for us though. He uses it for response to incidents as well. It's one of what I consider one of our command cars. So it's a response vehicle. He takes it on calls and whatever else is needed for his line of duty work. The last two things I have under modified were ones I had on last year. First one's the battery powered rescue tools, the Jaws of Life. So currently we have a set of Jaws of Life on the ladder truck. It's the only one we have, the only set we have. It's hydraulic based. I would like to try to buy these battery powered ones to put on the two engines. I can't always guarantee the ladder truck's available to go on car accidents, but there's always an engine going. So so if we had these tools, we could move them onto the engines and always have these available. Hopefully the ladder's coming with the hydraulic tools, but if it can't, because the second ambulance is being used, or generally the biggest reason why, we have a set of tools coming. Now, I know if you're thinking, I know I would be sitting, if I was sitting going battery powered, the new technology is outstanding.
Yeah.
I cannot believe how great the new battery equipment is for this. I've gone to demos at multiple fire departments to watch them as they're buying them, and I went full I was full skeptic. I'm going, it's not going to work. You wouldn't know the difference from a hydraulic tool that has that nice heavy duty power to what these are doing. It's pretty impressive. So I updated that from last year. The other one I left on there was a modified request, and you see it's in green because I have one other thing in green as well. That is, there is other funding, but I won't, we do through our EMS budget that was 3 years now, put money away for this type of purchase, that's how we purchased our last ambulance. But where it's, a large dollar item, where it is a capital, I wanted to make sure it was shown to you and seen on there. If we get into a position where we were 75% funded through our EMS budget and we were short, I didn't want you to go, you've never even said we needed another one. So we're trying to keep them on a 5-year rotation. So they'd be in service for a total of 15 years. We're 2 ambulances away from doing that exactly, but we're getting close just with the one that was supported by council last year to purchase. New requests, replacement of our engine 2, which is our spare engine downtown. If you remember, say over the last 6 or 7 years, we've got rid of a lot of spare apparatus. And now with the intent of getting rid of it was to decrease in the amount of maintenance costs that we have to have. I mean, even if a vehicle is not running very often, there's still a lot of maintenance cost in that. So we got rid of a lot of spare apparatus. We do have this engine. It's a 1991. It's a 30-year-old vehicle. It runs as the spare engine. So if either of the engines go out of service, either the one at Central, the one at the Weirs, this would go into service. It's a good truck. It's old, it's tired. We definitely want to be considering replacing this. So if it was to fail, or if one of the other engines was to fail, I would not feel comfortable putting this complete service for months on end. It works great for 2 or 3 days. It works great for a week at a time, but to say you're now going in service for 6 months is not something we would want to do. The last new request I sort of clumped in all together. Again, the top one's green. We are looking at some alternative funding. We have fire gear, washer and dryer system in both stations. This one out of Central Station that we have was a 2003, I believe. So when you look back to when people were doing this, there wasn't a lot of fire departments that even had this in their stations. We have for a long time now. And this one works a lot, especially with how we're trying to push cancer prevention. Is let's get the stuff washed. Let's get it. You should be washing your gear. You go back to, wasn't that long ago, where we would say, well, I have fire today, but I'm not going to really wash it until I'm on again 2 days from now. I'll just wait and do it after then. Those days are gone. And this committee supported buying a second set of gear. We have 2 sets of gear for everybody. That was 5-6 years ago now. So we've been through that process. So I do have a grant. My assistant chief wrote a grant application, and we just found out the other day we made it to the 2nd round for this one. It is multi-round, so which would be to replace this. So no guarantees, but it's was certainly some positive information. I'm going to skip the next one. I'll talk about that one last. Weirs Station renovation. It's phase 2. What I'd like to do here is to do some work in the apparatus floor, the apparatus bays, industrial cleaning, industrial painting, large shelving, some of those types of renovations. There's some drain work I think that needs to be done. Not real high dollar, but added up adds to some money. This was something we actually tried quite a while ago, and it never really materialized. So I wanted to get that back in here as our next phase, just to continue to move forward and not, talk about infrastructure, Peter. This is just one thing, taking care of the infrastructure that we currently have, and I want to try to make sure that we continue to do that. Mobile radio replacement I added in here. The number you'll see there is high, but it's high on purpose. That is to replace all of our mobile radios in our apparatus, all of them at once. We're starting to see some wear down in them as they get older. Some of them are nearing the 10, 12, 13-year mark, which is old for radios. As we buy new apparatus, as long as there's money in there, which the last few pieces of apparatus we've been able to. We do replace a radio as part of the cost. So that number is significantly lower. But wanted to add that in there. It's not an immediate thing anyhow. I'll go back up to the specialty ambulance equipment. It was a late addition that I added to that. It was brought to me by some of my personnel that work on the ambulance. There's a couple of higher end items that we'd like to purchase, and when we do that, we'd have to purchase on each ambulance. So I'm not going to get into the specifics of all of them. They're pieces of equipment that we would use in the back of the ambulance, vents, pumps for IVs, and some of those type of pieces of equipment that are they're difficult to put in an operating budget. When you're talking, 10,000 each type thing, it gets expensive. So I wanted to add that in there. And the last thing on my list there is the new fire rescue boat for Lake Winnipesaukee. The reason I put that in there, I think this is a good time to start at least having conversations about it. The previous boat that's up there now is a rescue boat. It doesn't have the firefighting capabilities that I wish it did, but it was bought specifically as a rescue boat. We do have some ability to fight some fire with it, but it's very limited. And that was all purchased through private funds. I think, and then I've heard everything from, do we come here and ask for the money to support it? Do we look at private funding again? And I think this is a great opportunity to talk about, lack of a better term, a public-private partnership, but, being able to co-fund it through, private funds, donation, fundraising, and community support, city support. So my goal would be to get that boat replaced, firefighting and rescue capabilities, put it in the Weirs, move that bigger boat that we have up there now down into Paugus Bay, like we used to have. And that's it. I'm sure you have questions.
Gale?
Yeah, I had one question and you kind of triggered this. I have a number of questions, but the one I wanted to ask
Uh-oh.
first is, first of all, could you, for those of us who are,
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
You said number. I don't know if I need to
I've been
write.
going through municipal fire department budgets for 20 years. So, not this one, but I know what goes on behind the scenes. First of all, for those of us who are new to this committee, if we approve either an engine or a ladder truck, whichever comes first, could you give us a lead time on that? That's 18
A year.
months.
A year.
To 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a
Okay,
year for the engine, and even right now, you can probably push a
Think so?
year to 14 months on a ladder if you ordered it.
Okay, I knew that there was a
Yeah, it's a long
significant
time.
lead time that
Yeah.
maybe some new people on this committee may not be aware of, but you don't just go to the store and buy one, you design them for
No.
the city.
No.
With that in mind, I noticed that you've pushed the replacement engine for Central Station out to next year's thing,
Yep.
okay?
Uh,
And it's a two-part question, but you also talked about the hydraulic or maybe battery rescue tools that may or may not be funded through a grant or
Mhm.
however.
Yep.
If you were to get those new tools, would this engine one be an appropriate vehicle? If you were to get a new engine, would that be an appropriate vehicle to design so that you could put that and take the ladder service, the ladder truck out of the frontline vehicle for motor vehicle accidents requiring extrication?
Yes.
But you kill two birds with one stone, I guess is what I'm trying
To
to
a
say,
certain extent.
to a certain extent. okay.
It would take care of more of the rapid, we're on scene first, there's a quick extrication to make, we have the tools to do it. The longer, lengthier, more convoluted extrications would still need all the equipment that is on the ladder truck that we
Okay.
just couldn't move. So
Okay.
yes, immediately, not guaranteed for all longer incidents.
Because
longer
I was going through
extrications.
your statement that if you
Yeah.
could move that equipment to an engine, and you wouldn't have to bring the ladder truck out so many times
Yep,
for something like accidents. I was just banking on that.
we just couldn't move it all that we need. One of the things that we did try to do was we did try to get a grant for a medium-duty rescue truck to be able to take all of that stuff off the ladder truck and put it onto a separate vehicle that's a light, to lighten up the
Right.
weight on the ladder truck. Fortunately, we didn't get approved for it. we were just notified of that recently, but to your point, to try to decrease some of the weight and the physical weight of the truck, to try to relieve some wear and tear.
Okay. The other question is I noticed you put a desire on the new washer dryer. And you didn't put urgent on it. Is that because you may get a grant? I mean, it just seems to me
Well,
that's important.
they're also running. It's also currently still running.
Okay,
I
so
didn't
yours
put-
is still working to
It's
your
still working. Yep.
satisfaction?
It's just
Okay.
old. It's,
Okay.
I didn't put urgent on it. Now, it's funny. I thought of it when you brought up the urgent question earlier. That was one of my thoughts, was that one. This is one of those where it's not urgent, but tomorrow morning when you go in there and there's a big puddle on the ground and it's, they come and go, "Yeah, it's not fixable." But I don't like to do that. I don't want to sit here. I mean, I'd put everything urgent, but I don't want to do that. I want.
No, and
Yeah,
I appreciate
I
that,
know you
but
do.
we're
I know you
talking
do.
firefighter safety and perhaps long-term,
Yep.
you know what I mean, long-term medical issues that have recently been big in the news. And it doesn't seem like a huge dollar amount.
No, I was
so-
surprised that it wasn't too bad.
It strikes me as something that could maybe be upgraded as something that whether you get a grant or not, I would support
would love
that
that.
for the current budget.
I would certainly love that.
And I think
Can I just
I guess
piggyback
that's
on
it.
that? I was actually worried when I saw that because I ordered an appliance in January and I'm still waiting, so I was a little nervous that I wonder if the order should be put in and maybe in a year you'll get it.
We haven't, it's funny, I have no idea what the wait time is on those. I haven't looked into that. I'll ask.
Because if it's gonna be like a year, it might be worth it to just put a down payment.
We can talk about it.
Yes.
yeah.
If the grant doesn't.
Right,
come
yeah, I'm hoping
through.
it goes through. Like I said, it made it into the second round, which was nice to see.
That's great.
And they wanted a lot more supporting document today that he put together, and I reviewed it and we sent it out. So it's a good sign. It's certainly a good
Yeah.
sign. I mean, it's firefighter safety. It's it's hard for the grant. They look at that, so.
Well, that's where I was going.
Yeah, no,
with
absolutely.
The urgency of the
No, I
request,
agree.
plus coupled with the small dollar amount.
Yep.
Was to firefighter safety and making sure that we are up to date on cleaning that equipment.
Thank you.
That was my thought.
Thank you.
I just had a question about the fireboat. With the uptick of people on the water, do you recall if it was out on the water for rescues more this year?
Yes, I don't have the numbers with me right now, but we were definitely out more this year than we were in years past. I would say probably up 40 to 45%. And again, a lot of it was just more people out there. That's really what it boiled down to. There was a lot more people on the lake this year, and so we were, especially towards the end of the year. It became late summer for some reason, and I don't know why.
The rain saved
Yeah,
us.
maybe maybe it was, but it was
Rain
late
the whole
summer
month of
that's August, early September, for some reason we got hit quite a bit. We were out a lot towards that end of the year.
It rained
especially.
all of July.
Well, that could be why too. Nobody wanted to go out, but yeah, we did spend more time out this year.
Okay.
We have definitely seen an increase.
Stacy, would it make sense for you guys to have both fireboat and a rescue boat? Or
No.
I know Guilford's got a fireboat, but
So we can certainly, well, I would keep the other one as just a strictly rescue boat, put it in
Okay, I
Paugus,
see what
have
you're
that
saying.
available for Paugus Bay. And then have the fire, it would be a combination fire rescue boat for the Weirs, Winnipesaukee. And back down into Paugus, obviously, but yeah.
Mike?
So when I look at boats, and I like boats. Are we talking an aluminum hull with all the grab stuff on the side, jet powered to get into shallow areas? What are we talking?
We like even the jet power for we have a jet power, the smaller boat has that same thing, and
Right.
what a difference that has made.
Yes,
What a great motor we would definitely have that on, if that was to.
I mean, because
Wish
I
list.
look at stuff
Wish
all
list,
the time and I'm like, I want one of those.
I think the biggest thing, and I haven't worked too much on spec, and I've looked at Guilford's quite a bit. I've talked to them just to see how they did their pricing and what they did. I think ours would be similar to that. one of the things that we would definitely want to make it is to have the rescue capabilities. One of the things that was really neat about the boat we have up there right now is it has that special dive door.
Right.
And even though we don't have the dive team, what a difference that door makes when we have to pull people in. So it would definitely need to be a combination for us. I don't think just speccing a fireboat or, is appropriate. And we have a sole rescue boat, which is 2004 now. It's a 2004 boat. So, yeah, so those are the types of things we would be looking at, all the little bells and whistles
Right.
that are for
Yeah,
Keep
and
us
the
safer.
ability to fight a fire.
an ability to fight a fire.
Because
We have a small portable pump on there right now with a small hose that it's probably 250, 200 gallons a minute at the most, maybe even less than that. I mean, and that's at perfect conditions. It's really poor to try to operate on, but it's what it worked. Remember, back then we bought a rescue boat for the purposes of a rescue boat. As you grow, you see, okay, we need to make some changes, and we need, if we were going to do this again next time, what would we do? And having the ability for, we have a lot of, we don't have necessarily a lot of fires, but we have the potential for a lot of fires along the shore fronts, that they would actually, we put boats on them from other communities, if they're available, for that purpose. So we'd want to do the same.
I had the opportunity to be walking down the boardwalk one day, and this fountain took fire right at the gas docks, right there below the pier.
Yep.
And that was fairly exciting as they kicked it away, and they were trying to douse it with water from the Mount Washington. But all of a sudden you recognize how quickly
Oh, yeah.
things can go awry.
And yeah, that was a tense few moments. If that had floated underneath the pier, it would have not been good.
Yeah, Meredith lost a marina
Not been
this
good.
spring.
Yeah, they did.
Or a big part of one. So, I mean, it's
Boats burn
critical to be
fast.
able to try to fight a fire from the water if that's where the structure is. I mean, land helps, but water makes it nice.
Fast and toxic.
Yeah, boats burn fast and quick, and not good for you.
Was it
No.
too early? for
Hey,
it?
any other questions?
I just have one.
Yes.
So I was just in the elevator. And there's two things there. There's a red button, and then it says, in case of an emergency, you may either push the red button or open the little door and pull the telephone out. Who answers?
It can go different places. The majority of them go to our fire dispatch center.
It can go different places, interests me.
Yeah, and I know most of them, like ours at the fire station, go to our fire dispatch center.
Just curious.
Because I've tried it, and the only reason I'm laughing is I tried it maybe a month ago. I just said, we haven't done this in a long time. I pushed it and they answered, hello. All right, well, we know where it is now.
I just want to know in case I get stuck in the elevator with Bruce.
It goes to Hector's.
And I'll be taking the stairs.
Chief, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Chief.
Always a pleasure.
You too, Peter. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Chief.
Good night.
Peter.
I've never gone for a ride in a fire truck.
Great. We are up for Parks and Rec.
They have a lot of pages.
It's way at the end. Oh, you found it. Thank you. Sorry.
I was wondering what was taking you so long.
The first two are what?
You were wondering, I was.
Yeah, but actually, I was wondering, yeah.
I didn't even get that tone.
I was gonna make a joke that I applied for a job, but it just wasn't gonna be funny.
It would be if I didn't have so many openings.
I see you're always looking for help.
We are.
We had somebody for 2 days earlier.
Wow.
Wow.
In a row?
Well, we had the position filled, and the second day that he was there, he called in and said, I'm done. It's not for me. So
Wow.
We have a position open again.
It was too much.
That's, yes.
That
that's what they
pesky
say.
getting up and going to work tonight.
It Makes it
Can't
rough,
sleep
doesn't
in
it?
anymore.
that Jay is a machine.
Yes.
One of our,
So
one of our
that's
guys,
good.
he said Jay is a
There you
machine.
go, Amy.
You're the best. Oh. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how it was gonna be.
Here we go. So here are our requests for this next fiscal year.
Let's introduce ourselves.
Sorry.
So I'm Amy Lovisic. I'm the Director of Parks and Rec, and this is Matt Manser,
Matt.
Assistant Director.
Yep.
So
That's
there you
me.
go. Now you know us.
Yeah, we'll jump right in here. So the very first thing that we have on here is the warning track up at Robbie Mills. If you are familiar with baseball or baseball fans, the warning track goes right along the far wall there. The purpose of it is it's the first sign of danger, right? If I'm running and tracking a fly ball and eventually there is going to be a fence that comes to get me, right? It's either going to be a 6-foot high fence with a pole right about 6 feet high, which is dangerous, or it's going to be a Amy will be fine,
I'm fine.
or it'll be a green monster that we have out there that we love. And we'll go over that in a minute. That is also dangerous, right? So the warning track, as I start to run on the warning track, I would know that it's coming close, right? It's about 15 feet. So that's roughly what we'd see. But that green monster, you know, what's behind there? It's just reinforced wall, right? So if we run into a pipe, that's one thing, right? If we run into a reinforced wall, it's another thing. Like it's a safety concern. It's a safety concern for the muskrats who play there, right? But, you know, these are elite level athletes and maybe they should know kind of where they are. They should know that they're near the wall, et cetera, but they're not the only ones that play there, right? We've got more and more high school teams are crawling over each other to play at Robbie Mills. Robbie Mills is a destination by design. It's where people want to come. Laconia High School plays there. Their varsity team plays there. Their JV team plays there, right? That means other schools from around the state, their JV team goes and plays there. Has anyone been to a JV baseball game lately? They are not elite level athletes. I'll tell you, they don't know where they are, right? So this safety concern is going from like our highest elite level athletes down to Johnny, who just wanted to play center field this year and was
Really think he's gonna pedal back for a ball in deep center, huh?
Yeah, somebody catches that,
Johnny's
gets a
pretty
piece of
quick.
it.
He just doesn't know where he is on the field and that fence can come up faster than he thought.
We also have the NHIAA Division
Okay.
III playoff tournament happens at Robbie Mills also. Once again, lots of people want to play at Robbie
It's
Mills.
the best municipal ballpark I've ever seen.
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
Not only that, we had Winnipesaukee versus Newfound came to us and asked permission to use our field as a treat for their players, which
Wow.
was kind of neat and very, very hard, you know, it just shows what we have. It shows,
Did they pay for that?
they sure
Just
did.
gonna ask that same question.
They sure did.
Yeah, okay.
They sure did.
They
That's
sure
good.
did.
But I
Okay.
mean, we have other schools that are willing to pay to come use this field now. So that's pretty exciting. We're pretty proud of that one. Moving on from Robbie Mills, we want to go take a look at Bond Beach.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, this is Laconia's best kept secret is Bond Beach. It's the private beach for Laconia residents. You know, we got 5 beaches here in the city, and so this one is the one for Laconia residents.
The only one that wasn't paid for with federal money.
Yeah, exactly. So the past couple of years, we've renovated the beach itself. We've made ADA access down to the beach. Made it look really awesome. Yeah, there's trails. There's
Well, the drainage.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it looks really cool. This picture was taken today. The sun was kind of hitting it really cool. So that was exciting. But it's not quite finished yet. We've got some areas that we still need to work on, mainly this bathhouse. You can see, let's see if I can get that little pointer going here. There's a pointer, boom. You can see this, like there's a hole in the roof right there. We haven't had this bathhouse operational for the 3 seasons that I've been here. It is beat up, it is vandalized. I'm not entirely sure how old it is, but I believe, fairly. Here, this toilet here, we can see part of the cinder blocks down there are just rotting out, right? So we have this lovely beach for Laconia residents, and we have nowhere for them to go to the bathroom.
Oh, we know where they're going.
So this year,
There's the lake.
Thank
I
you for the
had-
segue.
I was filling in for one of our lifeguards down there, and I had a patron who asked me, "Hey, can you open up the bathroom? I just need to go." No, sorry, it's not open. Where do you go? Porta potty. I'm not going to porta potty. They come and ask me again, "Can you please open that up?" Can't. There's no water. Anything you leave there is staying there. That's what I told them, right? They asked me again, "Please open it up for me." Not gonna do it. Can't do it. I'm sorry. And then they walked into the water, and I snapped a photo. I pixelated them for their privacy there. And then they walked out. We had the first Bond Beach bacteria advisory down at this beach for years, right? And I was expecting on our second testing for it to be clear because the water is moving so much, but it wasn't. We actually take 3 tests for it to get back under the bacteria threshold this year. And once again, it's because we know where they're going to the bathroom, right? So this is an area that we are really hoping to take the next steps on. We've got the design. We've already done the design phase. So we've got the design here. We want to double this building for not just the bathhouse, but storage for our lifeguards that we brought in again this year. We would also have the person who is checking beach stickers, who's the secondary lifeguard as they rotate. We need to have 2 guards in any aquatic facility. They would headquarter right there. So kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone in that design.
All right, we're gonna go on to the Memorial Park House door replacements. This is kind of a repeat from last year. Most of our things are a repeat from last year. Sorry about that. Some things got moved up because some things are ready to go, like the Bond Beach bathhouse. But almost everything else is a repeat from last year, almost. So you'll remember the doors for the park house are original. It was built in 1965 and they are metal doors. We all know what happens to metal outside in the rain. We get doors that look like this. The doors are failing, right? So this isn't just a park house that we rent out. This facility is actually rented on a permanent basis to a church. It's also used as a polling station. So all of these things, it needs to be maintained and it hasn't been, as you can see, and it's time. We also need to make sure that we start working on our ADA accessibility. You're going to hear that a lot this year, and it needs to be our focus, especially because we're a polling station and a church. These things need to be taken care of for all of our citizens. Then we get our pavement replacement. Now, the good news is this did alter this year because you'll remember last year we had that the Riverwalk was for the replacement of the pavement over here on this side. But it was also for the Rotary Park concrete that was heaving. The good news is we had a company come in and do a product demonstration for us, and I conveniently had a spot for them down at Rotary Park. So all of those tripping hazards at Rotary Park are fixed at no cost to the city. We like the product enough that we are going to be redoing stairs at Rotary Park as well as the community center. We're also going to be fixing the tripping hazard and a tripping right here in front of City Hall and one in front of the dry cleaners in front on Pleasant Street right there in the downtown. It's a side note, but I just wanted to let you know that half of this is gone. So that's good news. So it's just the pavement, but okay, so that surprise. There's
Wow, that's fancy.
fancy. Did you see it?
Mhm.
Ah, did you know it was there though? So wow, it's huge, right? And these are pictures from last year. We didn't bother with this year because they're just worse. So this is a 20-foot section, but we have 50 feet affected. Okay, we just have lots and lots of pictures for you. I'm just gonna keep clicking away and you can ooh and ah as you wish. I don't hear anything.
We're stunned.
And when you leave today, you can just go check it out.
Yeah.
So it's-
Just watch your step.
Yeah.
Trip around outside.
Don't.
We also are asking for a replacement roof of the Opeachy Track building. I think we have steel roof for the Opeachy Track building in the document there, but we wanted to make a point to say, we're not just looking for a steel roof. It's not that the roof is fine and we just want to upgrade. The roof itself is in need of replacement, and we may as well go with the steel roof with a 50-year warranty. Yeah, I mean, a picture says 1,000 words here, and I mean, we've got equipment in there that you'll actually see photos of later on in the presentation that will be affected by rain and leaks, and some equipment's not ours. Some of it belongs to the high school, the track program over there. Yeah.
So playground revitalization. We all know that our playgrounds are in much need of some repairs. Wyatt Park recently had 2 slides completely vandalized and we had to remove them. If you look at this picture, the only slide left is the little twisty twirly one right there in the center. The other 2 that are coming off the sides had to be removed because of vandalism. It was over $8,000 just to replace those 2 slides.
Wow.
So it's not a cheap business to be in for Parks and Rec. So keeping that in mind, we're asking for $25,000. But I'm going to go through a couple of pictures and I just want to explain to you just a couple of different things that we have. We had to put barrels on top of the areas that we had to remove the slides from for safety reasons, because if anybody were to fall on said pieces, then we're held liable. So we've covered those, but we've removed the slides so that the actual apparatus is still usable. Not only is it just the equipment that gets vandalized or just well used, if you will, we also have mulch that has to be replaced, and it comes up to a certain level and you have to be compliant at that level. Otherwise, technically you're liable. We need to up our level, and it's just a necessity. But like I was telling you before, you also just have the wear and tear. You know, this is just a well-used piece of equipment. You know, nothing happened to it, nothing went wrong. Nobody did anything malicious to it. It's just normal wear and tear. It's relative. It's, I believe, about 20 years old. But that was just Wyatt Park. So we have Sanborn Park that needs some upgrading. But it's getting some vandalism down there. We seem to have a lot of it nowadays. I think kids are bored. I'm not sure. Maybe they just don't like us. But Sanborn needs it, Wyatt needs it, Levitt needs it, Opeachy needs it. So what we'd like to do is we've spoken with the city council and mentioned the possibility of increasing our budget in a way. This is one of those possibilities that we could just add this to our operating budget, and that way bark mulch is taken care of, and playground issues like we had right now at Wyatt Park are taken care of through that operating budget, and it instead of that $8,000 coming out of my grounds maintenance. So we actually have something for that.
And I think we talked about creating, you know, looking at like a 5-year plan of how we bring our operating budget up to the standard of other parks and rec agencies across the country, especially ones that have the same demographics as us.
Is that everything?
Yeah. I think
Before.
so.
All right. So our maintenance building, we don't have a very large maintenance building. I don't know if anyone has ever seen our maintenance building. It's rare opportunity for you to drive behind the community center.
Oh, I know
Usually,
where it is.
usually not much need to, unless you need to park, of course. Our maintenance building is directly behind the community center, and it is not large. Here are a couple pictures. We house literally every piece of equipment that we have, all the fertilizer, seed, compost, chalk, paints, mowers, beach cleaners, you name it, it's in this building, or in one or two other places which we have, and we will show you the pictures there. So you can imagine it gets a little tight in there. Our crew is really good at trying to have a space for that piece of equipment. We know where that goes, and if it doesn't go there, we're in big trouble, because you can imagine blocking these corridors. But again,
Sorry, I would also jump in. There's not a lot of air movement in there either. So when we're storing a bunch of the fertilizers and the manure and everything in there, and then also working out of there, our foreman, his office is there. That's where he's prioritizing who's doing what that day. So he's in there for a few hours every day. All of our guys are in there for a few hours every day, just reorganizing and putting stuff up. But I am concerned about the long-term effects of that.
it's not a pleasant smell, is what he's saying. So this is a couple of other facilities that we have. The one on the right, top right, is Opeechee. The one on the left is Memorial. And the bottom used to be ours, but now is no longer usable because I don't know if you've driven by there recently. The roof is worse. So we no longer use that.
That's at the state school
That is
property?
the state school property.
Oh, that's ours. I know that.
We
State
we had use at the time.
Yeah.
I think the state was letting us use it for.
Of course they will.
Yeah, right, exactly. But now we can't. use it. So
We
anything
can't use
that's
it.
over there, we have to get creative with.
Right. So we had an accident from one of our employees who got hurt while climbing over a piece of equipment to get another piece of equipment. The safety board sent me this email that basically says that I need to, and I can't read that, so I might have to have you do it.
Well, find another location for the tool or rearrange equipment in the area so that they don't have to.
And as you can see, I don't have another place for them, and my arranging is as I can, right? So I'm stuck with what I have, and all the equipment that you guys have allowed us to purchase over the years has to go somewhere. So we don't have that option that was recommended to us by the safety board. However, we do have space for said building right behind our maintenance garage now, so we could literally put an annex to it. It would probably need to be 2 stories with all of the equipment that we have, cleaning supplies, bathroom tissues, you name it, we've got it. Parks and facilities. We are currently using it as mulch and loam storage, but we can find another place for that.
All right, moving right along, we got the Memorial Park tennis court resurfacing. Does anybody play tennis or been down to Memorial Park?
I used to.
Yeah, until it cracks.
Yeah, you can't play on those cracks.
There are 5 courts down there, and they get like progressively worse from left to right. The 5th court at this point is not playable. You can see these cracks in here. We've put time in the past. We've used Band-Aids, but really what it needs is like a good solid renovation, right? Like getting underneath there, using a geomembrane to make sure things aren't moving around. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I know that we're looking for a long-term solution instead of just throwing money at it year after year. I mean, we've got We've got grass growing out of the middle of court 5 here.
Well, they play at grass and what, at Wimbledon.
That's how
It's
we'll
just a
start to
little bit more
market it.
uniform.
And so court 5 really, I mean, I was down there the other day. I can stick my, I want to say stick my hand in there and be really over the top on it, but I can, stick some fingers in there, right? So that's of a concern. This is also an opportunity for us to kill 2 birds with 1 stone too. Because has anyone played pickleball? Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America, and Laconia is not immune to that. It is taking Laconia by storm. We are having people bang down our doors to get more pickleball time, especially as winter comes up and courts become available. They're going to be in the community center playing. This past summer, everybody played over at Levitt Park. There are 2 tennis courts there. They're all lined for pickleball. If you drive past Levitt Park, you'll see 30 to 40 people waiting their turn to play. They have asked me. I almost had 30 pickleballers come in today but then I was like, oh no, that's too much. But they would love for the Memorial Park courts to be lined with pickleball. They would hit it real hard over the summertime. It would open up Levitt for any tennis players that want to play there. It would just meet that demand a little bit more. We have in Laconia, but people are coming from Guilford, people are coming from Meredith, people are coming from Alexandria. They're coming from all over to play. And I know that that's one of our city goals is to bring people to Laconia, right? And then maybe they go to Wayfair and get coffee afterwards or something, right? So this could be another really big draw to the city. And killing 2 birds with 1 stone right there. So fixing our tennis courts and meeting a demand that exists.
It's also an opportunity to have a pickleball tournament, which is being highly requested at this point too. So.
And another thing that brings a lot of tourists in, right? We've got some awesome beaches, and this is one that I get excited about. So we're kind of lumping a bunch of these into Laconia Beach improvements. The Weirs Beach Gazebo, I'm sure you've all seen that before. That really turned into kind of a headquarters for us this year. Our staff would stay in the gazebo, and from there you have line of sight to the whole beach, right? Like we can see if people are smoking hookahs or drinking or doing anything that way. We're also in a prominent location where people can come to us and ask us questions, right? And we had a ton of that. Hey, how does the kiosk work? Hey, where can I rent the jet ski? Hey, what's a good pizza place up on the boardwalk, right? And our staff, we push our staff real hard to be friendly, welcoming. We're the first thing people see as they come down to the beach. And it was a busy summer after the rain stopped, right? It was as soon as August hit, we were slammed. It was awesome. But we have this gazebo, which is a beautiful gazebo. It's right. It's wooden, it's old, it's falling apart. We want something that can both serve as a headquarters for us where we can lock things in and have kind of a home base there. We want something that is aesthetically pleasing and professional, right? And we want something where we can keep materials so that when they ask for where can I rent the jet ski, we have flyers, right? Like we have something that we can give. I know the Chamber of Commerce had a booth somewhere up there. We don't really want to fill that role all the way, but we are able to say you can rent the jet ski over here, and this is what we can do, right? Here are some places that you can eat in the area. Heck, maybe we can have a Colonial Theater brochure, right? Hey, what are you doing tonight? Are you in the area? Here's what's going on here, right? There are some opportunities that kind of open up right there. And once again, we're trying to bring tourists in. During COVID, I have specific numbers of over 30,000 trips that were taken to Weirs Beach during the pandemic. There are a lot of people who will come to Weirs Beach, right? All right, let's move forward. Lifeguard chairs. We don't have lifeguards yet. I would like to. Soon, we are slowly working our way over there, like kind of building the building blocks to get there. Right, we had lifeguards at Bond Beach this year. That was kind of let's make sure everything works the way it should. But this year was also a year where it was like, let's prove that we can enforce the rules that lifeguards need to enforce, right? Let's not put it right on them right away. We proved that. This is a really successful year. Now it's how do we put them in positions to be successful? We can't do so with the lifeguard chairs that we currently have. You can see the picture on your left. That's my arm right there. And maybe 30, 40 years ago, lifeguards are in there and feeling good. But I'll tell you, I'm a lifeguard instructor. I'm a good lifeguard. I'm not going to fit in one of those chairs. So having something, giving an update to those, not only is it like increase the ability for lifeguards to actually do their job, but it also is part of that aesthetically pleasing, aesthetically professional sense that we want to move forward on, right? There's an aspect also of if I'm sitting in that lifeguard chair and I see an incident in the water in the back part of the swim area, how do I get down? It's not an easy climb, right? It would almost have to be like a leap. And that's not super ideal. We've been talking to the Guilford Parks and Rec Department, and I know
We
they're
came late. We got a late picture.
You'll have to imagine the fence not there, because that would also make it difficult to get by,
That looks
right?
protected.
Looks
No
like
one getting in there, I'll tell you.
But you can see they have
out either.
they have a
Sliding.
good width there. You know, a guard can sit, they can stand at the location, they can get down to the platform and then get off. This was originally created over at the Hewitt, and so I've been talking with them about how to get that over to our place. So yeah, that would just be one of the things that we're hoping to do for our beaches, and we'd be looking to get 4 at Weirs Beach, 1 at Bond Beach, and probably 1 at Opeechee Point. Right, so there'd be a handful that we need to get in there. Finally, we all came to talk about the geese.
My
Everyone, yeah. We have a ton of geese over at Opeechee Park. I know you're familiar with that. Anybody who's walked through Opeechee Park knows that there's a geese problem over there. We have tried the fake wolves. We have tried the fake eagles. We have tried the fake swans. We've tried the large eyeballs that float in the water and make it look like they're not there. We've tried the reflective tape. We've tried the grapeseed oil on the grass, which that was not bad, but it just washed away with the next rain and then took another day to put it down again. We've tried everything we can. Our contact at the DES, well, Amanda at DES told me originally of Pawtuckaway, who had 40 geese, and they called wildlife to just come in, scoop them. We've got, I mean, some of these photos, we've got at least 60. We've got a lot of this, right? We've got more than the threshold that the state allowed at its own park, right? So we're talking to DES right now. We think next spring we can get them up here. Sorry, US Fish and Wildlife. We think next spring they can get up here, take our geese, get them away, and this can be a final, this can get our goal done, right? Like this can get us to where we at least have no more geese at our parks. And that's
Does US Wildlife charge to do
Yes.
that? Is it
yeah, which is
exorbitant?
why we
They charge by the visit?
Yes.
yes. So we've got a quote from them.
They charge by.
I'm asking for
Visit.
reasons for Lakewood Beach.
Personal reasons, that's okay.
Well, not I really
feel like new
personal.
geese would just come in.
Yeah, I mean, whoops, what's
Well,
to
what's
stop
happening
another
is
flock?
geese are like, they're there and then they are procreating and reproducing, and then their family reunions are just always at.
Yeah,
Right,
Opeechee
where you're
Park.
born is typically
They can't
where
have
the goose
picnic
comes
fires
back.
there anymore. Why do they still come?
Sorry?
They can't have barbecues there anymore. Why do
know,
they still
right?
come?
Yeah.
We just gotta get rid of all of our grass and then they won't come.
The
We
they
don't
probably
have
will,
grass
like
and they
over the
come.
course of the next few years, they probably will start to come back again. And we may have to do this again. But right now, this is getting us closer to, I mean, we had a fake swan out there, and that's supposed to keep them away. I saw one goose swim up to the swan, check it out, wave its wings, and then the rest of them just came in. Like they figure it out. They like the actions that we've been taking, just they're not working anymore. And it's
You tried firecrackers?
Yep.
yeah, actually, so we get this
don't even
is a
care
fun
about
part of
the
the job.
dogs
There's like a little
Okay.
plastic gun, and we go and like shoot the firecrackers at them, and it scares them away. But it only scares them away so far. You know, like they'll swim into the cove.
They've
Right.
learned
And
it's
I'll
not
shoot
dangerous.
the one that fires out at them, and they'll go further out, right? But then eventually they come back. They just wait for me to leave. I had one guy come into the office and say, hey, you know what you should do? You should be there in the mornings, and then you should be there in the evenings, and then you should be there throughout the day. And I said, so like 18 hours a day, just hanging out at Opeachy Park with a plastic gun? It's not sustainable for us to do. I don't know that we want to,
I mean,
you know, pay a couple
Ones in
people
our beach, they
full-time
love dogs.
hours with benefits to do this, right?
Nothing
Use
scares them.
better ordinance than a plastic gun, and I don't
You
mean
know, Lakewood
fatal,
Beach.
I'm talking about bigger Class C fireworks that go up in the air and make them
Could
lot
be your
more
job,
noise and
Charlie.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
tough in a residential neighborhood.
We'll give you a free membership
And
at
especially with the
Beach.
school right there. I mean, we can't be firing fireworks off every.
Sure you can, Class C, I can go and fire them tonight if I want, there's no regulations, but I can't, and so all I'm saying is that you might want to try that. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out
I
there.
think it would work for the first day. I think they'd be out for a few hours, and then I think they'd learn pretty fast that like, oh, this is gonna hurt.
I'm not a
us.
goose expert, but I don't know what they think.
So they
but I just
actually
know how they react to.
Pick
Um,
them up
some
and take them
things.
away.
They
Before
do.
we go any further, were you all done?
Nope.
Yes, I'm sorry.
We got a couple more.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that you're able to
Yeah.
get
Thank
in
you.
and finish.
We'll get back to the geese. So the next one is our 35-foot boom lift.
That was
Um,
on there last year.
Oh, yeah, all of it was, except for the beaches. So this is what it looks like. Pretty simple stuff. And this is what it's going to help us with. It's going to help us with the tree pruning. It's going to help us with flag maintenance. And it's going to help us decorate for Christmas or any other holiday that we might choose to decorate for. Currently, this beautiful spruce tree on the right-hand side, it is in Stewart Park, and it takes us a good day and a half to actually wrap with lights because we go through a lot. And we have to take the bucket truck from DPW, who is using the bucket truck for DPW reasons. And it's not like that truck is ever down, right? That truck is constantly being used, and there's never a time that, oh, we don't need it today. You know, they just have to defer some maintenance while we need it at that time. So it's not like we could use it for a couple of weeks to prune our trees that need it. We couldn't use it for a couple of weeks to do our flagpoles and paint those and get those looking nice. You know, I believe that we need our own piece of equipment that, again, DPW could use.
Where would you put it if we don't give you any maintenance?
Luckily, this can stay outside.
This can stay outside and it won't get vandalized. The same people who vandalize everything else won't
That I can't
vandalize
guarantee,
that.
but maybe I
let's
need a
not
new
have that
maintenance
much.
building. I can put it on the maintenance building that you're gonna let me build. Then we're gonna get into the Gale Avenue waterfront improvement. Thank you. I did have a meeting with the neighbors of said area. It was actually quite well attended. We had about 30 people there. Most of them were very, very close by neighbors. They were concerned that the park would be big and used a lot, and that's not the intent that we're looking for. What we're looking for is some erosion control, fixing the benches, possibly a rain garden, that type of a thing, and maybe a retaining wall at the end, because I'll get through some pictures, but currently Gale Avenue, the water as it rains comes straight down the street and right into this park and out into the water. And what you'll see is that what they're seeing?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure. So you can see that this is a runoff, which causes the one on the bottom. And then the one in the middle on the top is another runoff, which causes the one on the bottom in the middle. And you can see all of these areas are deteriorating that waterfront. It's going away. It's literally eroding to a point where we've lost a good 10 feet right now since I've been here in the 20 years that I've been here. They'd like to get rid of that concrete pad that's out there that also has this metal pole on it, which is a hazard. But that was part of the wharf that was there forever, that had to be removed for safety reasons.
Thank you, guys. This is everything that we have on the agenda for this year. Again, this is everything that we just went through, but I want to highlight, I'll keep in the white here, everything that we have brought to this committee before, right? So everything, 10 of these 11 items we brought before, and I just want to take the time to share how much that kind of pushes everything else back, right? And I know you mentioned infill earlier, where we're taking care of the things that we have. And that's our goal. That's what we're trying to do, is take care of the things that we have here. And yeah, we're just looking for that opportunity to do it.
So, and to preempt Stacy, we do have some U's.
You know what?
We have some U's on here.
Use.
Urgent.
Oh,
Letter U's.
Letter U, not
letter
you
use. I'm
specifically.
thinking you- She said use.
I thought
I
she
did.
said too.
I did say U's.
I
So
was thinking
there are,
she.
it's plural on the U. Sorry. So some of these things are of safety concern and they are urgent. We don't want anybody to get hurt and then we take action. We want to take action before somebody gets hurt. Or other.
Peter's hand was up first.
Oh, thanks. So, I see playground revitalization, and you made some comments about vandalism and things of that sort. Have you considered, investing in surveillance cameras? Because
On the list.
PR
It's on the
19.
list.
Well-
It's just further down the list.
further down, but what I'm getting at is, like you mentioned Sanborn Park. I know for a fact that parents of young children won't go there because there are like adolescent teenagers, they're acting very inappropriately, and there's never any supervision or anything, you know? I know that part of that problem requires the community's cooperation. Somebody's got to get on the horn and report it to the police and stuff like that. But it occurs to me that security cameras would go a long way at discouraging that kind of behavior if they think that they're going to be on camera.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. We did have some incidents at Wyatt Park recently, and the police actually they have it they've moved their portable camera
Yeah.
to Wyatt Park at this point so that they can
Sure.
look to see what's going on and how they can help us. But to your point, we're looking at that as
And
well.
then just a follow-up, if I will. The new building that you need, doesn't the city have a lot on South Street?
Yes,
It's been used over the years by DPW for snow storage, for construction storage, things like that. When I was a kid, I believe that was a sledding hill or a ski hill, wasn't it? Is it?
it is our current sledding hill.
So my point is, couldn't a building go there, which would not only, let's say, one part of it be for your storage, but another part of it could be, say, a warming hut or restrooms or something, so that people want to use it in the winter, that they'd have that ability. Just a thought.
It's not a bad idea. We'd have to maneuver it so that we didn't have vehicles at the bottom of that hill, because the way our insurance works is that you can't have any vehicles at the bottom of the hill that kids could literally slide into and get hurt. So we have to have the bottom of the hill cleared out, but there is space past the hill that we could potentially get into.
Right.
I could look into it. Thank you for that.
Charlie?
Thank you. I've never gone to a baseball game up there at Robbie Field, so I just
Ever?
drive by it a lot. Is that artificial turf or grass?
Grass,
It's grass. And what would the warning track consist of?
dirt,
Just dirt?
just dirt.
And that's $35,000 just to turn that into dirt? Jeez,
Well, we
I'll-
have to move our irrigation,
Oh,
and that's the entire way around, because you have to
But you
protect
just turn it
your
off?
catcher. Not in those sections.
with the
We have to
dirt.
have irrigation, and it doesn't just turn off there. So we'd have to move our irrigation or cut lines, and we have to alter our
And how
irrigation.
much, 35,000?
That's what Busby gave me.
That's the bid you were given? Jesus, Bob. We could probably do that for a lot less money and make a little money, make a lot of dirt. It sounds like a good job, easy job. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just one quick question.
Gail?
Quick, this is close to my heart because I've been
Just move.
complaining about this for
No.
15 years. It goes to the tennis courts, Amy. I do play tennis. I learned how to play tennis on public parks, and I was a Parks and Recs tennis kid, and I've played my whole life until I came here. And then saw the courts. What I like is the backboard at Memorial Park is part of the fence. A backboard is useless if it's in front of a puddle. I just want to emphasize that.
That's court 5. That's
That is
completely
court 5.
ill-
And
unusable.
I think my suggestion would be is if you wanted to turn that into a pickleball facility, which I have no problem with, could you move the backboard? I know you'd have to replace part of the fence. I understand that. Could the backboard go up to Levitt Park, which could be kept as 2 tennis courts only? If we were to give you this?
So it's already painted as pickleball. So we're not
Painted,
going to be taking any lines out of, we don't want to take pickleball away from a facility. We just want to add pickleball to another facility. We can move the backboard anywhere we need to, even if we moved it to court number 1. I don't really care, but
I believe the backboard actually is the fence.
it is.
Okay, so which means you'd have to add fencing. This was the reason I got from the previous Parks and Recs director, who I thought you could just pick it up and move it to another court. Yeah, and then he said, no, it's part of the fence. We can't do that. That's all. And I'd like to keep you keep 1 court, maybe court 5, even if you were to put the backboard as not lined for pickleball, because for people that play tennis, the lines get confusing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's an eye thing.
Interesting.
It's a purist thing, I'm sorry, but
Purist
do what
thing.
you want. I support the tennis court.
What if we were to leave said backboard there, so we don't have to add fencing, and we just add another backboard?
That would work too, as long as it was dry. The puddle there is there even in a drought. Last year I went down there to hit on the backboard and
It's amazing, isn't
I
it?
had a broom. But I still had to wait for it to dry, so it,
I don't think
It's
I've
a
ever
low
seen it
spot.
not there.
I've never seen I've never seen the puddle not there, so that renders the backboard irrelevant.
That's why we need.
They could
to
move the
replace-
puddle.
I've swept the puddle. It doesn't dry fast
We'll
enough.
move the puddle to Winnipesaukee. How's that?
So I just had a couple thoughts.
Please.
The Hewitt building, Hewitt making a building.
Right.
Not sure if that's something that maybe they would be interested in. Because I know they usually have projects, and wouldn't a maintenance building be great practice for them?
So this is not building the building. This is a design phase. So this is literally just having it designed for us.
Oh, got you.
So it's not a matter of building.
I was
it for
going
that
one
amount-
step
Wouldn't
further.
wouldn't you be impressed if I could build a building for that amount of money? You'd give it to me right now, wouldn't you? But no, this is just designing it.
Got you. And then my other thought was years and years ago, I don't know if you remember Mary Lee at the Humane Society. I had, when I was a volunteer there, I had approached her about, hey, couldn't we get the volunteers to just drive down to the beach? Everybody's on schedule, just walk the dog
Wouldn't that be
along
nice?
the beach. And I had actually gotten a group
Oh,
that we were walking, and then I got a job, but.
Not with me,
And,
unfortunately.
Is that what you're talking
Are you
about?
talking about geese or just? the
She's
geese?
talking about the
Or
They,
having
so
a
what,
dog show of
the
some sort?
volunteers would have one, the volunteer would take a dog and take an hour. Everybody has shift. And they would just walk the dog close to the geese, and the geese were gone.
There is an aspect of just displacing 60 geese into private lands now also.
What are you gonna do?
We have a lot.
We'd
of
just like to get
geese,
rid of
and it's not normal. I would once again highlight, like, the state had 40 geese at Pawtucket and said, this is too many and we need to get rid of them. And we're at least over 60. We could be at 2 separate groups of 60. I don't know.
They used to eat them for
I was just going to
Christmas.
say, sounds like food for the homeless for me. And you can employ them to go out and round them up. Give them something to do on a day.
Listen,
Yeah, I do support Peter in his thought on the security cameras. I know you've got it in there as one lump sum, but maybe you could take it park by park and break it up over a gradual period and start with your problem parks and then go to the other parks. And maybe you could work, I know you had Lieutenant Butler as your contact person for that.
Well, I don't think they should do it park by park. I think they should be everywhere.
Is the temporary camera working?
yes.
It
And
has,
it's literally in dispatch. They can see everything that's happening at Wyatt Park, literally right now. If we were called dispatch in Laconia right now, they could, until it say, hey, what's going on at Wyatt Park? They could literally look up at their TV screen
Well, I
and
understand.
say,
that,
oh,
but
well,
and
actually,
mitigate the
little
cost of
Johnny
it.
is jumping on the picnic table right as we speak.
so it has, the vandalism and everything decreased there?
It's only been a week.
Oh,
So I
okay.
spoke
If
with
there
the
is
chief.
vandalism, they'll catch it.
I spoke with the chief today and he said he has not heard of anything that's happened. So I'm hoping that's
Kids
good
are
news.
supposedly back in school. I mean, summertime is the big issue, but it was just a suggestion. If doing all of it, I mean, I don't know what the economies of scale are and all that. I'm just thinking we've
Well,
got a
maybe they
number
could
of parks.
rotate it.
We've got a big lump sum. And it's clearly something that you and the police department consider a reasonable priority. It's not prioritized here. But if we're going to invest money in those parks, there's no point in doing that until we try to have some measure of security there.
You could feed children to the homeless along
You
with.
can feed them to the geese, yeah.
So before we deteriorate completely, any other questions? Amy and Matt, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you for having us.
Good job.
Yeah, the pictures are depressing,
Sorry.
but
What a great presentation they did.
I like the sneaker picture. That was.
that was amazing, yeah.
Should have wore those shoes. Brought it all together.
Well, then, that's yours.
I'm just saying, it's like downtown, you know. we want cameras
Okay,
everywhere.
so just so we're not, I think I had one question for Rob, but I think it got answered. I was wondering if impact fees, offsite exaction, or bonds or mediation are used for any of the real small requests, but now I'm hearing that, yes, they are. So that went my great idea.
Yeah, and I'm someone on the finance committee for city council. The money that we get from the church at Memorial Park, does that go into the general fund or does that go into a park revolving fund?
She can tell you.
Oh, you don't, I thought
She
maybe.
knows
you know
the
that.
answer.
So 1,000 of it goes into the general fund.
Right.
And 200 of it goes into a fund for any upgrades that needs to happen. However, they needed a new furnace. So we're 5,000 down.
And those are all steel doors and steel casements, right?
Correct.
So you gotta remove the whole unit and then you gotta repoint probably and.
Right, so.
And we're
so-
not doing all of the doors, just the ones that are functioning doors at the moment.
Okay, and so absent voting, does the city use that park house for anything?
Doesn't the
City itself,
church-
no, just the church.
Just the church, and then absent, we need that for voting.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Anything else? All right, I'm gonna run.
You gotta
Flee
run
while you
fast.
can.
Jump for the geese.
So that's Matt and Amy.
Yes.
Damn geese.
I'll call them.
And so now we come to next meeting.
Yep, the next meeting is next Thursday,
Next Thursday?
the 14th. It's at the same time.
Okay, I
And-
thought they were the other week. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, this last one was done when they had a space and that'll be the last presentation. It'll be the police department and public works and the planning department.
Planning department has too many items.
I think we have one.
One.
That's what I mean.
Do it right now.
Madam Chair,
Charlie.
I'll be on Zoom. Seriously.
Oh, okay.
We have one the Thursday after too.
Do I need a motion to
Make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
I'll second
The
that.
next 3 Thursdays. we have.
Perfect. Thank you.
See ya.
Can you imagine those?
Why don't we
pesky,
sell that
out
to
of
the church
control
and build this-
children?
move
What
the
would one
polling
really
place?
do about
Why
that? if
don't
one
we
had
sell
their
that building
ability?
to the church and move the poll